In this question, we have 5 companies and these are 4 days and they are shipping a certain number of packages every day. Now we need to find out for which company the standard deviation is the greatest. All right. So we need to find out the greatest standard deviation. Now over here, if you observe for company C and D, the deviation from the mean is pretty less compared to the others, right? Because the values are very close by, right? You have 39, 42, 41, 38. So these are all nearby. Similarly, over here you have 34, 28, 28 and 30. So these two are definitely out, right? We are trying to check the deviation from the mean. That's the standard deviation, right? So over here, what about over here? And again, remember, you don't need to actually calculate it. You just need to observe the pattern, okay? So over here you have 50, 60, 60 and 70. Now this adds up to 240 and 240 divided by 4. That gives you the mean as 60, all right? So what's the deviation from the mean for each of these values? For 50 it's minus 10, for 60 it's 0, these two 60s it's 0, and for 70 it's plus 10, right? And then we'll be squaring these and adding them up to find the standard deviation. All right, so let's hold that. Now what about option A? It's 45, 55, 50 and 50. If you add this, you'll get 200. 200 divided by 4 gives you the mean as 50. Now the deviation from 50 for these two is 0, and for the others, for 45 it's minus 5, and for 55 it is plus 5. And we will be squaring these and adding up. So you can see that option A is less than the standard deviation of option A is less than the standard deviation of option E. So option A is also out, right? Because this is 25 plus 25, but over here we have 100 plus 100. This will definitely be greater, and we need to find the greatest standard deviation. And what about option B? The mean is 10 plus 30 plus 30 plus 10 divided by 4, which is 80 by 4, which is equal to 20. Now what about the deviation from the mean? Over here you have minus 10, for 30 you have plus 10, for 30 you have plus 10, and for 10 you have minus 10, and then we'll be squaring it up, right? So that's 100 plus 100 plus 100 plus 100. So yes, so this is definitely the greatest standard deviation. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option B, that is company B has the greatest standard deviation. Notice that we actually don't need to go ahead and compute the standard deviation. We just need to look at the pattern and find out for which set of numbers the deviation from the mean is the greatest. Now what's being tested over here? You should know that standard deviation is nothing but the square root of the sum of the deviation of each of the values from the mean, and then you take the square and then you divide by the number of items. So in this question, the number of items is the same for each of them. It's 4, right? So again, you don't need to calculate it, and you're taking the square root for all the values. So again, you don't need to calculate it because we're just trying to compare. So we are focusing on this part over here to solve this question. We are seeing for which set of values the deviation from the mean is the greatest, right? And then negative value does not matter because we'll be squaring it up, right? So we saw that for option B, we will get this value as the greatest among the 5 options. Therefore, that's why the correct answer is option B. So this question is based on standard deviation. Do check the description to know more about my other GMAT programs. All the best in your GMAT preparation.